but at the same time, her spirit was there and came out. But boy, did it ever come out just now. Thank you, honey. You're wonderful. And as Lakeisha said, we are here to talk about changing our attitude. Because we have to have the right attitude if we want to step into gratitude. And gratitude then gives us the ability to continue that attitude. It reinforces us. We get into a circle of life, if you would, a circle of thinking, a circle of being in a certain way, which can be healthy, which can help us grow spiritually. But as you probably know, on the internet, there are a lot of quotes on attitude. Right, Dwight? A few of yours are there, I think, yeah. And anyway, here are a few that I picked up that I thought you might appreciate. A positive attitude may not solve all your problems, but it will annoy enough people to make it worth the effort. Reader's Digest. Attitudes are contagious. Are yours worth catching? Yeah, some people didn't like that. Anyway, wherever you go, no matter what the weather, always bring your own sunshine. Isn't that right? We can do that, can't we? If you don't get everything you want, listen to this now. Think of the things you didn't get that you don't want. I mean, you got to want it. That's Oscar Wilde, by the way. He's fantastic. Voltaire said, life is a shipwreck. But we must not forget to sing in the lifeboats. Not sink, to sing in the lifeboats, okay? Sang, that's right. If you don't think every day is a good day, just try missing one. Bill Moyer said, every thought is a seed. If you plant crab apples, don't count on harvesting golden delicious. See, our attitude is everything. Psychologists have said it's the most important thing in essence of creating our life in a positive way or in a negative way. It's up to us. It's totally up to us. It's the most distinctive and indispensable concept in contemporary social psychology. Attitude. Little word. We hear it a lot, but it has big ramifications. In the late 60s, when I went into the sales business, I read a book called As a Man Thinketh. I actually heard the tape first by Earl Nightingale. It's by, James Allen. I want to say James Taylor. I knew it wasn't him. But James Allen. And you see, James Allen was from England. And it's kind of interesting as you look at his volume of works, he's very similar to what the Fillmores were doing, what Holmes was doing, what a lot of people were doing at that day and time. And he was 15 years old when his father was robbed and murdered, and so he had to stop his education and go to work to take care of the family. He was the oldest. He went to work, and during the years he read a lot about of Tolstoy's works, and they inspired him. I mean, they inspired him so much that he quit his job so he could move to the country, contemplate a little bit, and write. He wrote 19 novels. He had a regular newsletter, is what we call it today, that went out, and that was called The Light of Reason. And in 1902, he published his best-known book, As a Man Thinketh. It really is a book that talks about the fact that noble thoughts make noble people, while lowly thoughts make a miserable person. There's a slide here of a quote of his. I've got 3 of them I just want to share with you. A person's mind may be likened to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. It will produce something. Every garden produces something. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein and will continue to produce after their kind. How many people have had a garden? And how many people have had a garden for a while, and then about July, they no longer have a garden? Oh, yeah, we got some honest people here, okay? Right here. I took after my father when it came to this. My father would plant the most beautiful garden, vegetable garden primarily, on Mimosa Drive, which is where I was raised. It was back in a little part of the lot. And he would have every row perfect. He would plant everything. He would put the right seeds, the best seeds he could find. He had his tomato plants. He even had corn. Okay? And it lasted about 3 months. Come July, my dad would find other things that he was interested in. And all of a sudden, this garden would start to be filled with weeds. And by September or October, it was producing nothing. Now, I said I was going to do it differently. And I think I waited until the end of July to stop taking care of my garden, okay? And I used to have a garden, even in New Jersey, and I would get everything right, and I'd spend a few days doing that, or maybe a week, and then I would plant everything, and I'd just do it just like my dad did. And for a while, I'd have these wonderful, wonderful, abundance of vegetables, fresh vegetables coming forth. And then about July, it was either too hot, I was too busy, I had to be on the golf course, or whatever I had to do, and the garden didn't take care of. And lo and behold, do you know that garden turned into weeds? And again, by September, October, and I couldn't understand why it wasn't producing anything whatsoever. And it was because I had planted this garden not with an attitude of gratitude, but with the idea that I would really get a few things from it, and really knew in my heart that I wasn't going to keep it up all summer. And not one time did I do it in the 7 or 8 years that I had a garden. Now, Vicky's father had a garden. You could come in there in October, and it was producing beautiful, beautiful vegetables, grapes, tomatoes still. Everything was in alignment, and there wasn't a weed in his garden. And one time I asked him, how do you do that? And he said, well, I pick them. Oh, wow, that's a surprise. Never thought of that, you know. So it's all about how we tend our garden. And it's all about what we put into our heads, into our brains, that makes the difference. I can either allow my heart to open up and to grasp that divine idea, that perfect idea, and then I can start to plant that in my brain. And when I do that, I change my perception, I change the way I am thinking, I change my nervous system, I change everything about myself. And each and every one of us has that power to make the change. It's just up to us. But it does take some work. And it takes some work of getting rid of some things that are no longer useful to us. In another statement, James Allen said, a person only begins to change when that person ceases to whine and revile. That means be angry. I had to figure out what that meant. That's, I wasn't born in that day and time, believe it or not. And commences to search for the hidden justice which regulates life. Isn't that what we're doing? We're really searching for universal laws, the justice that regulates life. It's already been created in the universe. It's there for us, but we have to step into it. We have to accept it. We have to own the fact that sometimes we are not living in the truth of our being, but in the illusion that we think life is. We think the illusion is real. And when we get confused with that, we get the wrong attitude. Because what we're doing is we are planting in our heads and in our brain those worthless seeds, you see, that generate weeds. And so the idea is that I need to understand that as I look at this idea, as we look at that idea, I don't know what happened here. I want to get the quote right. Thank you. There we go. Is that as a person, you see that what we have to understand is that sometimes because of circumstances in life, and boy, did Lakeisha give us a great one, okay? I mean, how many people in here have ever lost a job? Yeah, a lot of us have. Sometimes you elected to leave, but you lost your job. And I know with men in particular, we lose our identity when we lose our job sometimes because we're so closely in tune with it. But that's not the right attitude. That's an illusion that we get caught up in. Certainly I got caught up in mine. And sometimes it takes time to work through that. But what I finally learned to do was to take the circumstance and begin to use that circumstance, what had happened in my life, so that I was making progress. And more importantly, I was understanding and learning some of the hidden powers and possibilities within me. The same thing happens to each and every one of us. It's according to how we look at the incident, how we look at the circumstance. We can look at it and blame the world for it. We can look at it and blame ourselves for it. We can look at it and say, oh, I wish. That won't change anything. What we have to do is look at it and say, what can I learn from this? How can I grow because of this? Do I want to repeat this? No. And if I don't, then I'd better grow. I'd better change the way I'm looking at things. I need to change my outlook and change my attitude. And so as we do that, as we work on that, we begin to see the beauty in life. And James Allen also wrote about cherish your visions. And what he said was, cherish the music that stirs in your heart, the beauty that forms in your mind, the loveliness that drapes your purest thoughts. For out of them will grow all delightful conditions and all heavenly environment. And if you but remain true to them, your world will at last be built. Going back to the garden, if you continue to till the garden, if you stick with it, if you see it through, you will produce all the results that garden's supposed to produce. As you stick with it, as you reproduce and grow the garden in your mind, you then step into that place where you start to understand that whatever's happening is okay. You're able not to judge it any longer. You're able not to be attached to it any longer. And you're able just to let go and let God. And let me just say, when you do that, there is beauty in the world. You know, if I go for a walk in the morning or for a very, very light jog now in the morning, it's not even really a jog, it's just a fast walk. But anyway, I have two choices. I can focus on, oh, boy, everything's going wrong today. What am I going to do about this? You know, there's not enough money for this. How are we going to do this? I mean, there's lots of different things I can choose to focus on. And when I do that, I miss all the beauty. I miss the time of meditation. I miss the time to come together with myself and God. I miss that opportunity to grow just a little bit. Because I am so concerned about the other things that I cannot appreciate and be grateful for what I have. For the beauty of nature. For how well my neighbors keep their yards up and how beautiful they are. For the people walking down the street that I can speak to when I don't have my mind absorbed with the wrong things. I miss life. And I miss the joy of life. And so as we work on this process, you see, what we come to understand is attitude creates the state of being in gratitude. It opens the door to gratitude. Jesus said, for to all those who have, more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who have nothing, even what they will have will be taken away. Let's go back to the garden. Use that scripture around the garden. If I take care of my garden, if I really pay attention to it, if I have the right attitude in my garden, then all kinds of things blossom. But when I don't take care of my garden, okay, then I lose it all. I lose it all. And it's true of our lives. And so we have this opportunity to live in attitude because we are in charge of that. When we're living with the right attitude and with the power of gratitude, what happens is that we create a state of mind based on the right beliefs and the correct way of seeing ourselves. The right beliefs, understanding who we are, what we are as spiritual beings. And when we step into that, we start to say, what are ways that I can even improve that? As long as we are living, we are always working on ways to improve and become more enlightened. And that's good. And to make this more practical, here's some areas you can do it in. Lakeisha mentioned it. Physical health. You might do some great things right now. But maybe you can do more. If your health isn't what you want it to be, see yourself as healthy. Do the things that are necessary to maintain that health, to grow that health. And you will become healthy. Spiritually, then emotionally, and hopefully physically. Number 2, look at your emotional health. Vicki and I had her chance to hear Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. the other evening. And he said that uncomfortable emotions let us know there is a problem to attend to, a wound to work on, thus allowing us to see our own truth, to see our shadow side and to know that we don't have to be afraid of it. That when we allow it to come up, we take power over that, and then we can change our attitude. Then we can forgive. Then we can open our hearts and our minds and see each person as unconditional love. As that which God created, not what man created. And after emotional health, there is authentic relationships. And we talked about that last week in a way because we talked about forgiveness. And really, I think that's what relationships are all about, to let go of the fear, to walk into the love. And when we do that, we are letting go, and that means we are forgiving ourselves. And then there's work. Some of you don't have jobs you like. I understand that. I've had a couple of those. Not this one. No, I get the wrong idea. But you know, even if I don't like my job, and this was an attitude I didn't have because I would just go to the next job because jobs were pretty plentiful when I was younger. What I need to do is stay in the job and do it so well that somebody wants me somewhere else. Somebody needs me somewhere else. And then the law of attraction goes to work, and I move into that place of work. But I can't do it if I'm unhappy with the work I'm doing, and now I'm blaming my boss, I'm blaming the system, I'm blaming everybody I can come up with because it's like this. And today, we are so fortunate that work has taken on a different definition because we live in this media world. We live in this digital world. We have more opportunity than we've ever had before. When I was about 14 years old, I read all these books about inventors and everything else, and I came home one day and my mom and dad were talking, and I said, you know, the only problem is everything's been invented. I wonder why I didn't come up with the internet. I don't know, had something to do with that, right? And so the next thing is finances. Let's get our finances in order. One of the things we offer here is Peace University, Financial Peace University, Dave Ramsey's course. It teaches us how to manage our money. It teaches us how to save. That's the biggest thing it does. And it teaches us how to give like we've never given before because we have more money when we manage our money. But more important, it creates an attitude within ourselves that's positive and loving and helps us grow. And a fellow by the name of Dennis Jones, who is a motivational speaker, said this about the spirituality we grow into. Pulled by vision is what I'd rather be than being pushed by pain. That true? Yeah. We need to do that. Can I hear an amen? One amen? Amen. Oh my goodness gracious. You did good. So when I'm pulled by a vision, I never want to give up. When I'm pulled by a vision, I'm filled with life. When I'm pulled by a vision, I know I have purpose. I don't care how small or how big it is. When I'm pulled by a vision, I become more powerful in the positive and loving way it's meant. I have more faith. I have a better imagination. Because when I'm pulled by a vision, I'm doing it by allowing Spirit to pull me along the path. I'm not just creating this idea and running with it, although I can do that. But I got to stop and say, Spirit, what's mine to do? Is this mine to do? Or do you have a better idea? And allow myself to step into that better idea if it's there. And when we have that vision, we're pulled by vision, we just never give up. Here's a little videotape about never giving up. As we start to go into meditation, what I want you to remember and give thanks to that little puppy bear, okay? But what I want you to remember is that we never give up. That there's always a source behind us, supporting us. That metaphorically, God's arms, the Spirit of Christ within you, is wide open, there to support you and your dream. It's an automatic. So now let's go into this time of meditation, and as we do, I'm just going to get us ready by ringing this bowl.
So I invite you now into this time of quietness and reflection that we call meditation time. And breathe into this quiet place of peace. This morning we remember that this was Jesus' vision. His quest was for peace. And that consciousness, that Christ consciousness, continues to live in you and in me. So allow your breathing to settle, allow yourself to sink deeply into your seat, and begin to feel this moment where you are reminded that you are not just this little self like that little bear. You are so much greater. You have within you this spirit of all that there is that we call God, like the mama bear, always present within us, guiding and protecting us. And so this morning we turn to these teachings of Jesus, who is our way shower. In this teaching of Matthew in the 5th chapter, when Jesus goes to a mountain, he sits down and he begins to speak to his disciples about this vision of being pulled toward peace. He begins this Sermon on the Mount with the Beatitudes. As we share them this morning, Richard will read the Beatitude, and then I will read the affirmation, and then let's each of us bring that affirmation into our hearts and into our minds and allow it to work within us.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
I am open and receptive to the inflow and the outpouring of all there is in God.
Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted.
I am grateful for challenges that lead me beyond my extremity to God's opportunity.
Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
I am in tune with God. That which is God, inspired and God directed, shall prevail.
Blessed are they that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled.
I seek with all my mind and heart, and I shall find.
Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy.
I keep my thoughts centered upon only those things that I want to see manifest in my life.
Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God.
I see the world not as it is, but as I am. And I am in spiritual unity with God.
Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God.
I am a child of God, and I act like one. I am a radiating center of peace and love.
Blessed are they that have been persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
And in my quest for truth, I press on past my humanity to a deepening awareness and an increasing releasement of my potential divinity. These are the Beatitudes as taught to us by Jesus, our elder brother, our friend, our way shower, who is pulled by this vision of peace, by this vision of a right attitude in relationship to God, within himself and within the world, and from whom you and I can learn to be happier and more peaceful in this world. And so as we come back to this time and this place this morning, I invite you to gently open your eyes, become aware of your space here with one another, and remember this blessing always that we have gotten, not just from Jesus as our way shower, but from that Christ consciousness that you carry within yourself. It is alive and at work within each of us, reminding us that we are blessed always.